Hi there, welcome to What's Happening in Brazil. Let's start with the latest news from the country.
The State Public Prosecutor's Office started the investigations on the police raid in Jacarézinho, a poor community in Rio de Janeiro, on May 6. The operation left 28 people dead, including one police officer. The police presented two different accounts of the situation. First, the corporation said that the operation targeted a drug gang suspected of recruiting minors. Then, they claimed that the task force aimed to arrest people involved in drug trafficking who had posted pictures with guns on social media. Police operations in communities have been forbidden since 2020 due to the pandemic. Human rights organizations denounced summary executions and torture during the raid and called the incident a massacre. Among the people killed, only 4 had been mentioned in the warrants. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights called for an independent, thorough, and impartial investigation on the case led by the Public Prosecutor's Office. Wildcat miners attacked the Yanomami territory in the state of Roraima with firearms. On May 10, women and children were by the riverside when miners passing by on vessels started shooting them. This video showing the attack was recorded by the victims. The Yanomami struck back, and the conflict ended with 4 miners and 1 indigenous person wounded. The next day, other attacks happened when the police was already in the territory. Wildcat mining is a long-standing problem in Yanomami territory and is responsible for diseases and mercury contamination in the indigenous community. After the attacks, the indigenous asked for the Army's help to ensure safety in the area.
The region known as Baixada Fluminense in the state of Rio de Janeiro is notable for police brutality and for a number of young people and kids who go missing. Amid their grief, a group of mothers gathered to demand justice.
60% of the cases of missing persons in the state of Rio de Janeiro happen in Baixada Fluminense. The most recent occurrence is the disappearance of 3 boys in the city of Belford Roxo on December 22, 2020. Lucas, Alexandre, and Fernando left their homes to play soccer with friends and never came back. The children's whereabouts are still unknown. Human rights activists accompanying the case say that the civil police took too long to start the investigation and made serious mistakes, like ignoring surveillance footage that showed the boys at the same day they went missing. The material was later found by the Public Prosecutor's Office.
The public prosecutor looks at these videos and sees the boys walking around. How come the police have not seen it? For God's sake! So there are ludicrous mistakes. Are these mistakes by accident? No, there is no honest mistake for black, poor, favela dwellers. There is an ongoing policy of genocide.
Each month, 10 people are reported missing in Baixada Fluminense. The pain experienced by the 3 boys' mothers is denounced by the network of mothers and relatives of victims of state violence in Baixada Fluminense. The network was created in 2005 after 29 people were killed by the military police in an incident that became known as the Baixada massacre. Violence in the region hasn't decreased since then. In 2015, Nívia Raposo saw her 19-year-old son, Rodrigo Tavares, be killed on the doorsteps of their home. The young man was starting a career in the army and, according to his mother, was murdered by the police.
Já entendi todo o processo.
I quickly understood that they blamed my son for being killed. Since the first moment we arrived at the police station, we are forced to understand that our kid, because he's black and a favela resident, is not a victim. He's seen as disposable, as someone who can be killed without any problem.
Ser humano matável.
Renata Rodrigues dos Santos' anguish is more recent. Her only daughter, 7-year-old Rebecca Beatriz, was murdered along with her 4-year-old cousin Emily on December 4, 2020. The children were playing in front of the house when they were shot. The family says the shots came from police officers, but the police denies any involvement in the deaths.
It's been really hard, especially this month. It's my birthday, there's Mother's Day. I don't even have much to say, because I feel like crying already.
Juntas somos mais fortes.
We are stronger together. I say this to all the moms that I meet. Do not give up. Our dead people have voices. That is my message to all the moms.
Essa é a minha palavra que eu deixo para todas as mães.
Needles and thread may also be tools of resistance. Meet the work of the women who denounce aggressions against nature and social injustices with embroidery.
Yarn and threads that cross fabrics and draw new ways of dreaming and resisting. That is the embroidery work made by the women on the front of the struggle against the exploitation of nature, gender violence, and social injustice. Organized by the movement of people affected by dams, the collective Arpilleiras is an example of this practice.
These are the spaces we have found to use needlework to document abuses related with the construction of dams in the region.
Luciele, Regiane, and Joelma are part of the collective. They are involved in the struggle against dams in Itaituba, in the state of Pará.
In the collective, we bring up the issue of the Amazon as the lungs of the world. There are traditional peoples and communities in the Amazon. There are rivers and streams that symbolize the veins of the communities.
The inspiration for the group's work and name are the Arpilleiras in Chile, women who use tow and old rags to register the abuses of the government and the names of the political disappearances during the country's military dictatorship. The Chilean experience also influenced the collective Linhas do Horizonte, meaning lines or threads of the horizon in English. Since 2016, the women go out to the streets to stitch messages against authoritarianism and in support of popular movements. One of the group's works was a homage to the victims of the environmental crime in Brumadinho, in the state of Minas Gerais. In January 2019, a mining dam collapsed and left 259 people dead and 11 disappeared in the city.
Muitos acariciavam aquele nome bordado.
Many people touched and caressed the names of their relatives when they found them. Others thanked us. What for? Because the person felt cared for, that there was a person behind each of the numbers they publish every day.
Tem uma pessoa.
And now it's time for Brazilianism.
Eu aqui de volta com ele, esse queridinho.
Today I'll make a rice recipe. We'll like it not only because of the flavor, but because it is a one-pan recipe. Everyone loves not having a lot of dishes to do.
Louça para lavar. Para essa receita de arroz com carne moída,
For this recipe of rice and ground beef, I prefer using lean meat. Heat the oil in a sauté pan and cook the onion and the parsley stems with a good pinch of salt. Add the meat and cook until browned. Stir in the peppers and lentils well. Now add the rice, the whole potatoes, unpeeled garlic cloves, and the scarlet eggplants. Add enough cold water to cover up to 1 finger above the pan's volume. Leave the pan open and bring it to a boil in high heat. When these little holes appear on the rice, cover the pan with the lid and lower the heat to a minimum. Place a skillet between the stove and the pan and let it cook for 15 minutes. Then we open the pan, make 3 holes on the rice's top layer and add an egg to each one of them. Put the lid on and bring the heat back to high. If you like the yolk soft, let it cook for 2 more minutes. Make it 3 or 4 minutes if you like it hard.
sempre que terminar o arroz, deixa...
Always let the rice rest for 5 minutes in the pan after it is done, so that it is fluffy. Add some sliced scallions and it's ready.
Liked the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.